Dino Daycare, a tiny T-Rex learns to share. Part 1, The Big Roar and the Missing Blocks. Once upon a roar sometime, in a bright and bubbly valley full of sunshine and songbirds, there was a colorful little place called Dino Daycare, where dino kids of all shapes and sizes came to play, learn, and roar. Inside Dino Daycare, you'd find Trudy the Triceratops painting with her horns, Spike the Stegosaurus dancing to dino drums, and even Mimi the mini pterodactyl flying loop-the-loops near the ceiling. But today, all eyes were on Tiny, a small but loud T-Rex with tiny arms and a giant attitude. "Ray Hour!" yelled Tiny, stomping into the playroom. The ground shook a little. Okay, maybe a lot. "Tiny's here! Everyone hide your toys!" giggled Mimi, flapping up to the ceiling beams. Tiny didn't like to share. Nope, not one bit. "Those are my blocks," he growled at Spike, who was building a tall tower of rainbow-colored cubes. But I just started," Spike stammered. Tiny didn't wait. With one quick chomp and a happy tail wag, he snatched the blocks and dragged them to his corner. "Now I have the tallest tower," he grinned, stacking quickly. Miss Fern, their gentle Apatosaurus teacher, sighed. She walked over with her leafy clipboard. "Tiny, remember our rule?" she said kindly. "In Dino Daycare, we share our toys." "But I like them," Tiny pouted. "Sharing is hard." "It is," Miss Fern nodded, "but friends make everything more fun." Tiny didn't look convinced. He liked his way better. Later that day, the dinos had lunch, leafy snacks, crunchy bark bites, and sweet berry juice. Tiny wanted all the berry juice. "Mine, mine, mine," he sang, stacking 3 dino cups. Trudy frowned. "But we each get one, Tiny." Tiny just shrugged and slurped noisily from all 3 cups. The others stared. Nobody said anything, but slowly they all turned away. After lunch, it was time for Build-A-Block Bonanza, the favorite part of Dino Daycare. All the dinos raced to the big box of blocks, except the box was empty. "Where are the blocks?" asked Spike. Trudy checked the art corner. Mimi checked the ceiling beams. Tiny sat in the far corner, surrounded by a huge wall made of every single block in the daycare. Inside the wall was Tiny, his juice cups, and a giant dino grin. "I made a castle," he roared proudly. Miss Fern raised an eyebrow. "And where will your friends play?" she asked. Tiny blinked. They can build something else?" Spike shuffled his feet. "But there's nothing left." Trudy sat down with a plop. "I wanted to build a garden." Tiny looked around. Everyone looked sad. Even Mimi was too quiet. Suddenly, the big block wall didn't feel so fun anymore. Then came rest time. Miss Fern turned off the lights and hummed a lullaby, but something felt off. No one curled up next to Tiny. Not Trudy, not Spike, not even Mimi. They all lay in their own little corners, far, far from the block castle. Tiny sighed. The soft hum of the lullaby didn't help. Neither did the walls of blocks. For the first time all day, Tiny felt lonely. After nap time, it was time for Dino's story circle. Everyone gathered on the carpet, everyone. Except Tiny. He stayed in his castle. From there, he watched Miss Fern open a big book with shiny golden letters, The Tale of the Sharing Sauropod. All the dinos gasped with joy. "I love this one," Trudy whispered. Miss Fern began to read. "Once, long ago, there was a sauropod who kept all the leaves to herself. But one day, she learned that sharing brought more smiles than any snack ever could." Tiny peeked out from the castle. The other dinos were leaning in, smiling, laughing together. Something tugged at Tiny's heart. A soft thump-thump feeling. He tiptoed, as quietly as a T-Rex can, and whispered to Miss Fern, "Can I sit too?" She smiled warmly. "Of course, Tiny. There's always room in our circle." Tiny sat down next to Spike. Spike scooted over a little more and smiled. Tiny smiled back. After the story, Tiny walked slowly to his giant block castle. He took a deep breath and kicked it down with one big roar! Blocks flew everywhere like colorful confetti. "Everyone," he shouted, "let's build a super tower together." The others stared wide-eyed. "Really?" asked Trudy. Tiny nodded. "I'll go last. You pick first." The dinos cheered. Spike grabbed a red block. Trudy chose green. Mimi zoomed with blue ones in her claws. They built and giggled and stacked and laughed. And this time, Tiny had the most fun of all. Part 2, the Dino Tower Challenge and a Big Surprise. The next day at Dino Daycare, Miss Fern had a big smile on her face. "Good morning, my little dinos. Today is a special day," she announced. "We're having a Dino Tower Challenge." "Yay!" shouted Spike. "What's that?" asked Mimi, doing a loop-de-loop in the air. Miss Fern twirled her leafy pointer stick. "You'll form teams and build the tallest, strongest, most creative dino tower ever. The winners get a special golden dino badge and berry cupcakes." Everyone gasped. "Cupcakes," whispered Tiny, his eyes sparkling. "But remember," Miss Fern added, "the only way to win is to work together." Tiny swallowed hard. He glanced at his friends. Would they want him on their team? Trudy walked over and smiled shyly. "Want to be on our team, Tiny?" Tiny blinked. "You still want me?" Spike nodded. "You shared the blocks yesterday. That was really cool." Tiny felt warm inside. He nodded fast. "Yeah, let's build the best tower ever." Team Trudy. Tiny Spike was ready. They grabbed their blocks and got to work. But it wasn't easy. Trudy wanted a flower garden on top. Spike wanted a dino-shaped archway. And Tiny, he wanted the tallest tower in the world. "Let's make it super tall," Tiny said, stacking quickly. "But it's leaning," warned Spike. "I want flowers first," said Trudy, frowning. Tiny stopped. His arms were full of blocks. He took a deep breath. "Okay," he said slowly. "Let's do the garden first, then the arch, then we'll go tall." Trudy's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Yep," Tiny smiled. "Let's do everyone's ideas." They worked together, placing, balancing, giggling. Mimi flew by. "Whoa! Nice teamwork." Other teams had tall towers, but they were wobbly. Some were fancy, but the dinos were arguing. But Team Trudy, Tiny, Spike, they laughed, they helped, they cheered. Even when their tower wobbled, they caught it together. Tiny whispered to Spike, "Sharing's not just about toys. It's about ideas, too." Spike gave him a high five with his tail. When Miss Fern rang the bell, everyone stepped back. "Time to see the towers," she called. Each team stood proudly by their creation. Some were tall, some were shiny, one even had glitter. Then came Team Trudy, Tiny, Spike. Their tower was tall, yes, but also colorful, balanced, and even had a flower garden on top and a dino arch at the base. "Wow," whispered Mimi. "It's beautiful." Miss Fern clapped her giant feet. "The winner of the Dino Tower Challenge is Team Trudy, Tiny, Spike." The trio jumped and roared with joy. Tiny got his golden dino badge and a cupcake with extra berries. But before he could eat it, he looked at Mimi, who looked a little sad. Her team's tower had fallen over last minute. Tiny took his cupcake and walked over. "Want to share with me?" he asked. Mimi blinked. "Really?" Tiny broke his cupcake in half. "Sharing makes it taste better." Mimi smiled the biggest smile. Thanks, Tiny. That afternoon, during free play, Tiny did something surprising. He didn't stomp or grab. He asked, "Can I join your puzzle? Do you want to use these crayons too? Want to build together?" And every time his friend said, "Yes." As the sun began to set behind the bubbly hills of Dino Valley, Miss Fern gathered the little dinos for one last song. Tiny curled up next to Trudy and Spike, his tail swishing gently. "Today," Miss Fern said softly, "we learned that sharing makes our world more colorful and our hearts bigger." Tiny grinned. "I used to think sharing was hard," he whispered to Spike. "But now?" Spike asked. Tiny looked around at his happy friends. "Now I think it's the best dino skill ever." The end. Did you enjoy Tiny the T-Rex's big day at Dino Daycare? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What would you build in Dino Tower Challenge?